Ooh, like that. A cute warning.
All right, so
Good intentions.
what a film.
I know, right? I mean, I'm sold from the off because Sarah Michelle Gellar. Am I right?
Oh my God, yes.
Exactly. I
She's
mean,
so
who's
hot.
already on board with that from the start?
Um, yeah. Well, okay. Something that's, I think, important to mention about this movie is that like there's a lot of problematic things that happen.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of like homophobia and like sexual coercion and like objectification of women and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, and I think, you know, part of the reason that this exists in the film is to like um create Sebastian as this like douchebag character from the beginning to give him like a triumph at the end. And that's not like justifying his actions, but I think that it makes sense like why they did it.
100%. Do you know what's weirdly just popped into my head? Did you ever see, this is random, it's going to seem like a tangent, but did you ever see there was like a Tumblr post and it was about like a writing class or a film writing class? And the dudes in it were saying that the only way you can tell that a guy is a bad guy in a movie is if he kills an animal or specifically a dog.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
did
in the
not see that.
you could harm another actual human, and the guys in the room were like, "No, no, it's not as effective unless it's an animal. Swear down." And I don't know,
Hmm.
like we're both. Well, I'm a woman. You're here, over there, and we're watching this, and we can see the objectification and the sexualization and stuff like that. And I think because the movie was aimed at women, maybe that's why we're able to like isolate the problems. I feel like I could show this movie to some guys and they would be like, Cecile said yes. Do you get that vibe?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, Cecile was coerced into saying yes, but
Yeah.
like, yes, I can see like, I think it's also very easy to like say like, oh, Sebastian like turns into a good guy, like he's the
Mhm.
hero, but I never see like yeah, he learns how to like love, but does that really make him like
Good.
a good character? Like I kind
Yeah.
of think he's still kind of a shitty guy. Like he still
Totally.
lets his sister manipulate him into like breaking up with his girlfriend, which is like a weird
It's so jacked.
thing.
Like,
And
I don't
then
know.
the
I
other
feel
thing that like comes to mind about this is like, okay, well, if the only thing telling an audience that a guy character is bad is killing an animal, like what's the thing that tells an audience what a like a woman character is bad? Because to me,
oh,
there's a lot more.
oh,
Like
100%. The
like
bar is lower for us. I think you just have to be slightly louder than they want and slightly more confident than they want, and you're
definitely.
there,
But it
you know.
feels like especially in this movie, like Catherine's a horrible character.
Oh, she's awful. All she needs is to be blonde, and then she is the stereotype.
Yeah, for
All she
sure. Exactly.
just
And
like the
like
blondest of blondes.
it's like the like slutty, like manipulative woman. And like you could argue that she's like strong and you know whatever, but regardless, she is through the lens of the film looked at as like a
Oh
bad
yeah,
guy.
100% stuck in a completely rigid mold, not of her making. Fully
Yeah.
agree there. It would be interesting to see it shot the other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the POV character is the person whose shoulder you're always looking over. It would be cool if that was Catherine.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this also brings to mind like Annette. Like it feels like Catherine and Annette are like the two different sides of the spectrum. Like Catherine is the
Yes.
slut and Annette is the prude, and like
Yes.
those kind of stereotypes are like frustrating. But
They are interesting. I mean, they're just everywhere. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is the part of the Breakfast Club that made me cry, not gonna lie. That conversation in the middle of the Breakfast Club about the virgin whore paradox, I was like, gone. Nobody talked to me for at least like 3 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like, the thing is, if those are the opposites, Annette and Catherine, then presumably Cecile is in the middle, trending towards Catherine. So there's obviously like, I think it still sticks very rigidly to that thing of we should be at Annette's side and not Catherine.
Yeah, for sure. Cecile is completely unlikable. Like,
oh, I get into it with people about likable characters.
I mean, I don't think likable is like necessary, but yeah. I think that like she's so annoying. Like she's made out to be like so obnoxious.
I just want to stop her before she does anything. Like, I was rewatching Cruel Intentions and I'm like, Cecile, no, just stop. Like the bit where she's on her head with her legs open. Oh my God,
yeah.
This in front of, is it Ronald?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, Cecile, honey, that's not what we do, okay? I just couldn't. I just was like, I think it's a protective instinct kicking in with Cecile. I feel like there's a lot of dads watch the movie and we're like, oh, Cecile, help her.
Yeah, for sure.
You
know? Yeah, I mean, it's so weird that like she is like the most unlikable character, but she like objectively kind of does nothing wrong. Like she doesn't really do anything.
Essentially, she's the most normal.
Yeah, she is.
She makes no sense.
And I feel like part of this is because she comes from like money and like everybody looks at her as like a little rich girl, which she kind of is, but she doesn't do anything like objectively bad.
No. I feel like I wish Cecile were more active. Not like necessarily against like Sebastian, but just more like obviously the denouement of the movie, Annette gets the diary from Sebastian and exposes Catherine. And I kind of feel like she should have teamed up with Cecile.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It would have brought some kind of like feminist like bonding if like Cecile was more involved.
Some like girl gang angle.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't know if that was really a 90s thing.
Probably not.
No, I mean it was like Ocean's 8 had that whole angle. Was it Ocean's 8 with all the ladies?
Yeah, like
yeah. I watched that with my dad and he was a bit underwhelmed by it and I'm sat there like, no, but look at all of the boss ladies doing all the things. It was very interesting.
Yes, very good. Yeah, I mean, I also want to talk about this like homophobia that's like in the because that presumably was not in the original book.
I mean, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say if it was not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a guess and say that the misogyny was probably more apparent.
Probably, yeah.
Whatever, century France.
Yeah, but it's like, once again, like I feel like, yeah, it like sort of is like world building to like show how horrible like Catherine and Sebastian are, but like did they really have to like that football player, I forget his name, but yeah, like did they really have to expose him like that? That was so evil. And then he's like, and then he's not even a character, he's just like a pawn in their like
he's a sidebar. Like, it's angry. It's definitely hitting on so many different like levels. I mean, there's like the homophobia anyway, level number 1, definitely bad. And then you add football and sports and toxic masculinity to the mix, especially because they phone him like at his dorm or like in his room at school or whatever,
Mhm.
and you can see him switch from one persona to the other on the phone with his boyfriends, and it's bad, it's terrible. There's so many cultural like issues at play there that aren't even resolved now. Like,
Yeah.
give at least two more characters in like American media that are closeted football players for sure.
Yeah.
Like there's the one from Glee, definitely
Yeah,
him,
that's what I was thinking of.
and there's probably definitely more, which is a whole other issue that you guys need to. Hey, you guys, we have sports here, we have homophobia here too, but like just generally, we
Yeah,
shouldn't.
it is like a weird trope here.
I mean, it's just reflecting reality back, but it's definitely. I think it's ill-considered to put it in media without somehow moving towards like acceptance.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
For sure. Um yeah.
Oh, what else did we say?
Oh yes. Okay. Yes. I wanted to talk about the like lesbian kissing scene
Oh yes.
because I feel like it's kind of voyeuristic. Like
Yeah.
personally, I felt like it was like there for the men. Because it's like so like close up on their faces and like sexual when like okay, yeah, that might happen in real life. Like
Mhm.
young girls might like practice kissing on their friends, but it's definitely not like that. And it felt like to me like kind of derogatory toward queer women. I don't know.
Mhm. No, well, so the thing is, I hadn't properly considered the ramifications of that kiss until you came in and said all that. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I agree. The whole practice sentiment is fucked because that's not, it's heteronormative and it's wrong. We should stop that for sure. Um, yeah, I find it interesting though your statement like for the men because I agree with you that that's the lens. 100% that's the lens, but I like something in me bristled at why something men enjoy is wrong. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I 100% get both sides here, but I find myself playing devil's advocate right now.
But I feel like just because it's like using queer women as like it's like fetishizing them. Like it's
Yeah.
not a respectful kind of like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I see it, but
I am.
it's also like women are objectified all the time that I can't justify like objectifying two women like who aren't queer
Yeah.
like making out just for male satisfaction.
100% with you on this particular point. But just generally, like wider. I don't know. I wonder that though. I've never actually discussed this with anyone. Like the male gaze, don't get me wrong, I'm like against it sometimes, more often than not, to be fair. But I wonder if there's something in it that we can like work with.
Mm.
No, I've never considered it, but like it's been on the mind anyway because math has like old issues of Playboy
Hmm.
and it sells. So I'm like, what do we get from this? What are we saying when we sell old issues of Playboy on? Like, are we reclaiming them as queer people? Are we saying like, no, we like this content too? What are we saying? It fascinates me.
Yeah. I think the real crux of the issue is like whether the women involved are like, I guess, aware of, like what they're
Mhm.
doing and like not, I guess, confident in what they're doing. Like Playboy, like, okay, it's like it is like objectifying women, but if the women involved are like, well, I'm confident in my body, so I'm gonna take naked pictures, like that's like a different thing. Like I feel like
Yeah.
that's
It's interesting.
understandable, but I don't know like a lot about Playboy, so I don't know like what the models involved were,
Yeah. Me
doing.
neither. I feel like I read some stuff, but I wouldn't trust me on it. It's interesting with movies though, because I feel like if there was ever gonna be like a time that one of the actresses from Cruel Intentions came out and was like, "Oh, the set was really weird," or like the director did a thing, it would be now
It would be now, yeah.
for sure. And I don't know because obviously, did you read all the stuff about Charisma Carpenter
Yeah.
last year? Obviously, Sarah Michelle Gellar came out of the same environment,
Yeah.
so it would be interesting to hear about what the set of Cruel Intentions was like. Because I bet that wasn't a closed set for the kiss.
Probably not. Yeah.
Not like it would have been for the sex scenes, you would hope,
Yeah.
but I don't think it would have been for the kiss. And you can almost picture like the dudes in the back.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it too much, but you can almost picture. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of actresses go on like Graham Norton and talk shows and be like, "Oh yeah, dude's just hanging around at the back of the set, perfectly normal."
Yeah.
Weird
Yeah.
being an actress.
Hard to know. And also like I feel like intimacy training was not at its peak at that time. Like I feel like intimacy training is only just now starting to exist on sets
Yeah,
in a real like tangible way.
I think
Um
it would be cool to see how that changes stuff. Like I can
yeah.
only think of about 3 shows that have had them, 3 or 4. I know Sex Ed has. I May Destroy You did.
Mm,
Bridgerton did, I think. And I've
yeah.
only seen 2 of those shows. But
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's really important and not enough shows do it because like it's really important to protect your actors from feeling, like they're unsafe or like uncomfortable with like what they're being filmed doing. So
hopefully that becomes like a really essential line in a show's budget. Like, hey, we're gonna pay this person to make sure everyone is safe and happy.
yeah, yeah,
If that were to happen more often.
yeah, for sure.
With younger actors, especially. Look at how many actors go off the rails. Maybe we could stop that.
Yeah, maybe.
Just thinking huge. You gotta shoot big when you're trying to change the world, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Um yeah, I mean I think this movie is like dated and that's not going to change it. Like I still enjoyed it, but it is quite dated and there's like some weird things that
The
made me
internet
cringe.
in Cruel Intentions is strange. Just doesn't resemble what we have now.
Yeah. I think part of it is like the underlying story is based on, a really
Yeah,
old like French novel.
for sure. There's not
Um
many ways that you can adapt something that old and make it what would we accept now without really losing the essence of what was originally there.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
It would be like, I don't know, complete fish out of water. They just didn't think in the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um like the reason Catherine is so evil and not able to like be an empathetic character is probably because she's not in the novel, and
Yeah.
making her one might destroy.
There's not as much space for the nuance in character.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like we still struggle with female villains now anyway.
Yeah, that's very true.
As I mean with villains generally though, because we always want to humanize villains a little bit. We want to make them like nicer than they are. I mean, look at You on Netflix, prime
Oh my god,
example.
I hate You. I can't stand that show.
I love the book. the first book. I
Mhm.
love so much because in the book there's no hiding from it. Like he is an absolute arsehole,
Psychopath, yeah.
misogynist, and there's like no getting away from it. But with Netflix, God, they make him so likable. I don't
I
even mean
know.
active, I just mean likable. Like he's helping out the neighbor's kid all the time. And he's, running the bookstore and he's like reading to kids at the bookstore, and you're like, stop it.
Yeah.
He's bad.
I don't know. I watched like the first couple episodes of the first season of You, and I just like couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
'Cause it was like,
Tone of it is not for everyone. Like I 100% remarked on this, so I just watched the first season back with a friend who's never seen it before. And I was saying to him, like, look at the way like this shot is framed right here. Like that could be something out of a music video or like a movie. And like I think Netflix knows what it's doing, but it doesn't quite make you as uncomfortable as the book does. Netflix kind of gets a bit comfortable. It's like we've got two beautiful people on screen right now, and we're just gonna like let them be beautiful.
yeah.
Okay, Netflix, but that's not what the book did. Okay.
For sure. For sure. Um, yeah. I mean, I feel like this movie could not be made today. Like Cruel Intentions could not be
No,
made now.
scrap today. I
And it serves as like sort of like sort of saying like where film was at
yeah,
in the 90s. Um, so I think that it's still like enjoyable as is, despite its like problems.
yeah.
But it definitely would not succeed if it was made like in
No.
2021.
Oh, it would get ripped apart today if it were released today, for sure. I think that's good though, that we've got to a place not that much long after that we can look back and be like, this is a problem, that is a problem, this is a problem.
Totally. Yeah,
Progress, bit by bit. That's it.
cool.
Yeah.
I
Sweet.
don't know.